It's California Edition. My name is Brad Pomerance. We are joined by the mayor. Yes, the mayor of Long Beach. His name is Robert Garcia. He was elected in June, but many are still celebrating his historic win, and it was historic for so many different reasons. You're young, you're Latino, you're out. I mean, there's so many reasons why it's historic. I know it's just you, but how does it feel to be that person that has become history?
Well, first, I always like to say that I'm mayor for everyone. So, like,
Yes.
regardless of what people's skin color are, or
Right.
who they love, or where they live in the city, I ran for mayor to be mayor of all of Long Beach. And for me, the biggest honor is to represent the city that I love so much, and a city that has such potential.
But you are historic.
And I know,
know.
and I think
You
for certainly for a lot of those communities, I know that they take pride in that, and I love that, and I celebrate that. But I think it's really important that a mayor is there to represent everyone.
What's nice about you being young is that your parents are still with us. Right. And so I gotta ask, I'm getting chills saying it, what did your parents do when they realized their son had just become mayor of one of the largest cities in the state of California?
Well, I think I have very, very humble parents.
Right.
We grew up in a very typical immigrant
Right.
experience. It's kind of two things. I mean, one, they're certainly proud. But listen, their proudest moment was when I was the first in our family to go to college. And it doesn't matter anything else I can do, that's by far more important. And I also think there's a level of just being comfortable within our family. And so whether I'm mayor or whether I was teaching or whatever else I'm doing, it's still the same.
But they must be proud.
They're very proud, but they're also very grounded. And so they know that this is
excellent.
We're working hard, but they're
terrific.
grounded.
And they keep you grounded, I'm sure.
Of course.
You mentioned college, and I want to speak with you about the efforts of the city, which you're leading, to expand college opportunity. And it's particularly appropriate since you were a college professor before you were mayor. And I know the plan well. It's known as the Long Beach Promise, which connects LBUSD, LBCC, and Cal State Long Beach to make that transition seamless. But now the city's gotten involved. Explain.
Well, let me first just start by saying that
Please.
Long Beach is an education city.
Yeah.
The system office for the entire Cal State system is in Long Beach, all 23 campuses. Cal State Long Beach is the #1 applied to Cal State in the entire state of California.
But you're being humble. It's one of the most applied to universities in the country.
In the country, but it's also the #1 in the state of California, and next to UCLA for public universities. So we have an education climate. Long Beach Unified School District consistently ranked one of the top 5 urban school districts in the country. So we have this great educational system for urban education, but we still have some components that are missing. And so what I'm trying to do is bring the city as a full partner in the seamless education promise. So I signed on as a signator, so the city is now an official member of the Long Beach College Promise. And so what are the initiatives that we're promoting within that? There's essentially 3. The first is the idea of universal preschool. All the academic research, as an academic researcher myself, will tell you that there is no better place to invest public dollars when it comes to biggest bang for your buck than in a preschool education.
Now, you know that some of your friends in the legislature earlier this year had been pushing for universal preschool.
Absolutely.
Statewide. It didn't make it.
We're very supportive of that.
But can the city adopt universal preschool on its own?
Absolutely. So where preschool is actually happening are in municipalities. New York, San Francisco, San Antonio, recently Seattle, just this last week, have all adopted municipal universal preschool programs.
How does that work? Where do you get the funding?
Well, there's a variety of options. So you can do whether it's some type of partial support, partial tax support.
Yes.
It can go to the voters in the form of bonds. There's every city has actually taken a different approach and a different model.
And this city?
What we're trying to do, #1, is understand and do an inventory of actually how many of our youngsters are actually in preschool. Then we're trying to maximize the open seats that we do have, because we actually have open seats where families aren't taking the seats currently. And then we're going to look at where is the greatest need and what can the city do to reach out to the community to provide funding for those additional seats. There is no better academic investment than getting youngsters in preschool. It prepares them for college.
You said there are 3 planks.
Right.
Universal preschool.
That's one.
Okay.
The second is internships.
Yes.
Let me give you an example. In the city of Boston, Boston has 50,000 public school students. Long Beach has 80,000 public school students.
Who would have thunk?
Yeah. The city of Boston has, of the 50,000 public school students, 15,000 of them are in internships. In the city of Long Beach, over 80,000, 1,500 of them are internships.
Not good.
1,500, 15,000, and we have a larger public school system. There's no question that when a young person has access to an internship, the chances of them getting a job are higher. It's linked learning, it's a workforce experience, it's training for the next job. And the research also shows that the people most affected that don't have access to the internships are communities of color, unrepresented groups, and the youngsters that need the job the most. So we have a goal. We've set a goal that in our first year, we're going to take that 1,500 internships and double them to 3,000. Our goal is by the end of my first term to create and triple the amount of internships that we're doing, and we'll continue to grow them over time.
Third plank?
Third plank is for the city to be more invested in college completion or career programs for young high school students. The city has to do a better job through our library system as well as our after-school programs on ensuring that there are training opportunities, ensuring that we're connecting people to the community college, that we have resources available for families. We can do more. I don't think we do enough of that. It really does take a village to educate a community, and I think the city's got to play a more active role. So those are the three issues we're working on.
I want to ask about fiscal stability. Fortunately, you are walking into a city with a budget surplus right now, which is nice, I'm sure. Not many cities can say that. But we know that Long Beach and many cities are facing tremendous weight under pension obligations. And I was reading recently that Long Beach specifically can expect a spike in pension obligations of 87% from today until 2020. That's an additional $35 million. Sir, you've gone through pension reform. How much more pension reform can you go through?
Well, I think that we need to explain that a little bit. So,
please.
One, the city led the state in pension reform, as we know, and we did it by working with our city employees, not against our city employees. And so, I credit our city employees who work hard every single day, and the work that we did while I was on the council to ensure that we achieve the maximum pension reform that we're able to do per state law. Now, the governor and the legislature have put in additional pension reform measures that gives the cities a little bit more flexibility. We're working on those. But for any additional pension reform, major reform to happen, that's going to have to happen at the legislature. And I know they're talking in discussions about what will happen in the future.
They've been talking about this for years with Mr. Schwarzenegger,
absolutely.
Mr. Brown.
But to give the governor credit, he did sign pension reform legislation in the last session that gave some cities more flexibility on the issue. There's a larger issue now. What happened because of the city reforming its pension obligation, what we're doing right now is essentially we're taking, the reason why you see the increase is because we're actually being responsible. So the city is committed to, over the next few years, pay down our pension obligation. And so while the city might have let's say a small deficit in the next few years, that deficit is an exact relationship to the amount of money that we're putting to pay down our pension obligation. So what's going to happen is you're going to see a small deficit, but then over the next few years, as we go out a decade or so, then you're going to start seeing our obligation go down for the first time in a very, very long time. So I look at it as a very prudent and smart investment to pay down our pension obligation, even though it's going to help, it's going to tighten the belt a little bit for us, but it's the right thing to do. In addition, yes, we did have a surplus, but as part of the budget, the first budget that I proposed and signed when the council passed, we took that surplus and put it into a pension stabilization fund to ensure that we'd have money in the future. We didn't overspend. We didn't implement new programs that we possibly couldn't afford in the future. We did the right thing, and I think we're very stable financially.
That being said, there's no doubt that cities are having to pay just a greater portion of their general fund to pensions for whatever reason, with or without reform, because of agreements made in the past or today. And it's hard to deny that that's going to start taking money out of parks, out of cops, out of fire. And so at what point is there a break?
Well, quite frankly, I think Long Beach is managing our pension responsibility very well. And we have made cuts, we have leaned government, but we've also made government more efficient, and we've worked with our city employees. You've heard the pension horror stories in some cities of the entire workforce fighting against the city.
Right.
That's not happening in Long Beach. We've done it the right way. Because I think that we value, at the end of the day, we value people and the people that are working at the city.
But it was easier, I would think, to see pension reform through when you could say, look, we have a deficit, the economy is in trouble. Now we're on the other side. So are your union partners going to be as willing to engage in concessions when things look brighter?
I think that whenever there's a challenge and you ask people to step up and you do it in a way that's respectful, people step up. And right now we are in a financially good, stable place. We're not swimming in cash, but we're also not going to overspend, and that's an important part of it.
His name is Robert Garcia. He is the mayor of the city of Long Beach. My name is Brad Pomerance. It's California Edition.